Before I moved to Spain, I had a picture in my head. Slow mornings, long lunches, a quieter version of life. I was right about some of it, but some of what I assumed I got completely wrong. And a few of those things are wrong in ways that stopped me in my tracks. I'm Robyn. I moved my family from Marin County, California to the Costa del Sol, Spain at 51 with my husband and teenagers and my dog Charlie. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what I miscalculated, not to warn you off, because most of these surprises were better than I expected. But what did that matter specifically if your kids are part of your plan? And I want you to know it before you go. So I've been keeping a running list, and it started as a note to myself, the things I assumed that turned out to be wrong. Some of them I'm still adjusting to. Some of them I cannot believe I actually missed. And if you're the kind of woman who needs the real picture, not the highlight reel, this is it. And if you're the kind of woman who needs to run actual numbers before any of this lands, I put together a Spain Clarity Guide for exactly that. I'll tell you where to find it before this is over. But I want to show you the list first. The first thing I got wrong. I thought Spain was slower. I expected cafes, afternoon naps, the kind of life where the pace itself is the point. And some of that is real, but the Costa del Sol is not slow. It's alive. I want to tell you about the paddle courts. In California, golf courses were the backdrop. You drive past them, the manufactured greens, the carts, the parking lots. It was the landscape of leisure for a certain kind of person at a certain kind of income level. Here, it's paddle courts. They are everywhere. They're next to the beach. They're behind the restaurants. They're inside apartment complexes. They're at the club. They're on the way to the supermarket. I didn't even know what paddle was before I moved here. But 1 in 8 people in Spain plays paddle. Give me that stat for any sport in any other country. I just don't think that's a thing. This is not a trend. That is a national sport that happens to be one of the fastest growing in the world. And this is not an advertisement for paddle. I just want to give a comparison. In the US, 1 in 14 people play pickleball, and they act as if it's everywhere. Paddle penetration is nearly double that. There are 325 paddle courts per million inhabitants in Spain. In the US, there's 0.5. All right, so that's just one comparison. You walk past one at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and there are 4 people playing, laughing, sweating, making plans for dinner after. This is just a weeknight. So I expected to slow down in Spain. What I didn't expect was that the slowing down here does not mean doing less. It means doing things that are actually worth doing at a pace that's human instead of frantic. I had that completely wrong. The second thing I got wrong, I thought Spaniards would drink more. I had the image of wine at lunch, long evenings at the bar, a culture that ran on alcohol. I didn't know how to think about that in the context of wanting to be healthier here. But what I actually found was this. The people in my social circle, it's a mix of Spaniards and expats. They drink less than the most people I knew back in California. Not no alcohol, don't get me wrong, not no alcohol, but just less and differently. So in California, I knew people who held back Monday through Thursday, saving it up so they could drink on the weekend without feeling like they had a problem. I may or may not have been that person once in a while, but that was a particularly kind of relationship with something. It's a transaction, it's a reward system. Here it's just more casual and less loaded. A glass of wine with dinner because it's dinner, not because Thursday finally became Friday. And the cafe culture, that's what surprised me most. Spaniards go to cafes the way Americans go to bars. There's a terrace on nearly every corner, and most people at it are actually drinking coffee or water or fresh squeezed orange juice, not alcohol. And when I say fresh squeezed orange juice, you can get that at the local grocery store, the Mercadona. You can even pick out, this is a side note, but you can pick out your fresh baked bread that morning, put it into a slicing machine yourself, pick what size you want to slice it, and you're on your way. It's just so convenient. If you think you're so convenient. I assumed maybe I'd have to work harder to make healthier choices here, but what I found is that it's so easy in this environment to just make those healthy decisions. You don't even have to try. And the third thing I got wrong, I thought I would need Amazon. In California, Amazon was not a convenience. It was an infrastructure. Every American that is watching this knows this. If you want a fair price without driving to 3 different stores, you open the app. It was how you got your hardware, your household goods, your organizers, extension cords, groceries that were priced reasonably, and Jeff Bezos got his cut of it. Here, I don't even open the app. There are stores here. They're Chinese family-owned variety stores. They have been a fixture of Spanish life for decades. They fill the gap in Spain's historically regulated retail, where you used to go to a specific shops for specific things. These stores, they sell everything. Their hardware, kitchen tools, clothing, party supplies, beddings, cables, nuts, and bolts. They're like Costco without food, or your Ace Hardware without that expensive price. They look small from the street, but you go inside, oh my God, they're massive. There's upstairs, there's downstairs. I could buy my kids' costumes they did Fame. And I was able to buy 80s costumes in May because they have costumes. They're priced the way Amazon prices things, without the app, without subscription, without the algorithm learning what you want before you want it. I walked out, spent 18 euros, and had bags of goods that I actually needed. So I had assumed I would miss the convenience of Amazon. What I found was that I missed the convenience. And Spain just has a different version of it that I like better. The fourth thing I got wrong, this is the one that is absolutely a trade-off. I assumed the kids would have the same kind of independence they had in Marin. In Marin, my kids could walk to 2 different downtowns. They could bike to some of their sporting events. There was a huge sense of freedoms. The ability to just go, to leave the house and arrive somewhere without me being involved. That was definitely something I didn't think to count on. So in the Costa del Sol, we live along the beach. That strip is beautiful and walkable and alive, but my kids' friends don't all live on the strip. If a friend lives inland, which many do, I'm the driver. I make the plan work, and I am the logistics. It's not a deal breaker, but that's a real difference. Marin, California gave my kids a geography built for their independence. The Costa del Sol gives us, as a family, a life that is richer in almost every way, but the kids' social lives require more coordination than they did before. And if your kids are part of your picture, that's worth knowing before you go. It doesn't change our answer, but it obviously changes how we plan our weeks. So here's what I want you to take from this. None of these things I got wrong were deal breakers. Most of them were better than I expected. And the paddle course, the cafe culture, the stores, the pace. I had underestimated what it would feel like to live in a place where the structure is built for people rather than productivity. And the honest trade-off, the kids' independence and geography, is something I could work with. Because the rest of what they are gaining is something I could not have given them in California, no matter how hard I tried. If you want to run your own version of this calculation, what changes, what stays, what the real numbers are for electricity, for groceries, for everything, that's exactly what the Spain Clarity Guide is. Link is in the description. Take 30 minutes of your time and run your own numbers, not mine, yours. And before you close this tab, I want you to sit with one question. What do you assume about the life you're living right now that you have never actually tested? Because I assume California was the only structure that worked for us. And I absolutely had that completely wrong. If you want to see what the truth of life here looks like after 9 months, including the things that surprised me the most, that's what this video is about. Leave me a comment. What's something you assumed about living abroad that you've never actually fact-checked? I read everything and I answer everyone. Subscribe if this is the conversation you've been looking for. See you next time.